from Indonesia, and to a lot of people who don't know Indonesia, it's one of the biggest countries as far as population. And the first thing people think about Indonesia is usually, oh, it's a Muslim country. Well, it's not. It's a country with many religions, and it's one of those countries that is so famous, particularly crazy about social media. I'm one of them. I'm a typical Indonesian. I arrived here in 2016, late November. So this would be my 5th year living in South Korea. Always in Daejeon, has not moved anywhere. I love it here. To a lot of Indonesians, my upbringing was quite different. I identify myself as Indonesian. I was born in Indonesia, I was raised in Indonesia, but my father is Indian and my mother is Indonesian. And I remembered that during my childhood, every day was a cultural shock for me. Whatever things going on at home, the conversations my father had with my mom, the arguments, the discussions I had with my parents, is not typical of I see other friends or other kids were having with their parents. So although my home country, Indonesia, is typically very diverse as far as ethnic backgrounds, for some reason, I grew up in a pretty homogeneous society. So people at that time were either native Indonesians or they were Chinese Indonesians. I did not see any other mixed kid just like me. So everywhere I go, I felt like a misfit. And if I go to school, for example, I have to switch on to the mode where a version of Rezia my friends could accept. So there are certain discussions I don't bring to school. And similarly, if I act the way I do at school and I bring it home, my parents would be like, why are you acting weird? This is not the Rezia we know. Growing up, the biggest influence in my life has always been my father, even up to now. When I say influence, it could mean a lot of ways, good, bad, in between. He's very strong in character, and I've never seen anyone so hardworking in life. At that time, being a business person or owning your own business is not something that is as respected as it is right now. So pressure was high from business, that's one. And second, being different, looking different for him, it comes with a cost. So I remember he always comes home with not only tired, but with anger management issues, unresolved years. I could see that he's just like me. Like around his business partners, he was someone else. He's radiating with a lot of cheerfulness. He is friendly, he's hospitable. And as soon as he was home, he was someone else. There are times in my life I was a sad, angry girl, and I spent years fixing that, trying to resolve that, trying to be a person who does not carry that much of a grudge in life. Growing up, my father put me in this invisible golden cage. He would, anything that I ask, he would try to provide. And that's why I remember growing up, although we didn't have much, but he always made me and my siblings felt like we had enough at that time. But at the same time, due to the fact that I'm a woman, to him, there's only so much I could do. Because if I do A, let's say I want to have my own vehicle, I want to purchase my own car or my own motorcycle, the first thing popped in his mind was like, what if someone crashed into you? And that goes with a lot of different cases in my life where I end up, I want to do something, it's like, no, you're going to be in danger, someone's going to hurt you. So he doesn't trust anyone. When I was growing up, I felt like so limited. There's so much of my potential was limited by him, even up to the fact where I wanted to choose what major I want to study for my bachelor degree. So I remember that I got accepted for law, I got accepted for psychology, I got accepted for visual design and English literature, and I was really keen on studying design at that time, and it was my passion. At the same time, he said there's no future in that, and if you are taking English literature, you can stay at home, teach English for kids, and let whoever marry you later on take care of you outside of the house. So that's for him, that's a better future for me. So then I decided to take English literature just because he said so at that time. As years go by, I felt like there has to be time where I have to make my own decision. And I saw that I don't know if this is just my family, but I noticed that this is also happening in a lot of different communities, families too, particularly with Asia, is that as long as you are dependent to your parents as far as resources, whether it's financial or property, anything else, there's some sort of aspect in your life they can control. So my goal at that time, let me finish my bachelor degree, be completely independent by myself, then I'll make my own decisions. So even though my father said, no, don't go abroad and anything, I secretly look for opportunities. And at that time, I was teaching for quite a number of years, and I saw an opportunity funded by the American government for all English teachers to apply to the U.S. and teach. And I applied within a heartbeat, didn't consult anyone, got accepted, went to the U.S. and never looked back. And in my mind, after that, I don't want to go back home. I don't want to go back to my family. I want to go to places where they have zero control of me. Zero. It broke his heart, but I think it was I never regret that. I love him, but I never regret that. So I remember walking around trying to look for my apartment in midsummer in Arizona for the first time. I was dragging a very heavy suitcase at that time, looking for my apartment, and I only have an address, a note of an address. I didn't take the cab or anything whatsoever. I was lost. So naturally, my first instinct is to stop someone and ask for directions. And I asked this person, do you know this address just by any chance? I'm looking for my own apartment. The answer that he gave me at that time was, look it up on Google, it'll help. And he just walked away. I came from a situation where internet was a luxury at that time. I had to go to an internet cafe just to be able to access my email. And smartphones was not a thing at that time. The message that was translated in my head here is that you don't ask people until you try your best finding stuff on your own. Independence is something that I found in the US a valuable trait. I did a lot of things, and I keep running into instances where I felt like you have to learn to rely on yourself. For a lot of other Indonesians, they would find it debilitating, but for me, it was liberating to be able to resolve something on my own, find a way out, or finding a certain information, trying to identify communities or look for information all by myself. Each time I found something new, it felt like an achievement. For the first time in my life, no one tells me what to do. No one's trying to put me in a cage, in a house, tell me not to go to places, tell me not to go anywhere I want or do what I want. Well, I was in the US during their most difficult time. It was around 2008 to 2011. They were having a big monetary crisis going on. So naturally, employment opportunities were scarce. So I made a decision going back home to Indonesia, and it didn't take me a lot of time to secure a good job in Indonesia. But at the same time, I keep being nudged to this feeling like it's nice to be abroad. So I felt like, okay, so let's just work, and in the meantime, I want to find ways to, being in a different environment. So in Indonesia, as soon as I finished my master's, I did a curriculum reviewing. I felt like, I want to go back, or I want to go to a certain position where I'm the face of that institution. And since I graduated from the US, I spent some time in the US, the only education system that I understood at that time, that I had more knowledge other than Indonesia, was American education system. So I kept looking for opportunities around that kind of framework, and South Korea fell into my lap. I was just looking at this particular website. This university has an opening, and it is something that I've been wanting to do for so long, and I felt like I had to go for this one. So the best part about Daejeon is that I think the nature of it not being metropolitan, and it's not Seoul, it's not Busan, everything here seems to be honest. The people are extremely friendly. Try going to the market, for example, and you speak only Kamsahamnida, that they'll give you extra multiple different things, like here's an extra melon for you, here's an extra odding for you, and it's just so sweet. You walk around everywhere, you're asking for directions. I never get cold shoulders around here. People try to be so helpful wherever I go. And I don't always get the same treatment when I travel to Seoul. And I think it's important for a lot of foreigners or anyone who wants to come to Korea. Korea is just so much bigger than just Seoul and Busan. So it was 2016, I arrived in South Korea, and I remembered my emotion at that time. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I finally got it in a completely different country. Things could not get any more perfect than that. So I came to work every day with smiles ear to ear almost every single time, because I was so anticipating and excited with what I had to do for my position at that time. But along the times I worked, 8 hours plus per day, I slowly find out a couple interesting things about working in Korea. And most of the times it has been, at first it was confusing for me. I did not have a mentor per se, or someone who is, telling me what the corporate culture would look like. And the mistake that I had at that time, and I hope other foreigners can learn, is to research more, to speak more with a lot of other foreigners before they arrive here, and how the working culture would look like, how dealing with colleagues, as simple as that. Generally, it's the same framework for everyone. Hierarchy is one. Second, being a foreigner, it poses an interesting situation whenever you have to put yourself in an environment you need to negotiate something. So oftentimes, it's not just the message that is important for a lot of them, but how you present it or who's presenting it. It took me a lot of times, when I say a lot of times, I mean years, until I realized I'm a woman, the skin color, the age, the way I dress. If this all doesn't fit into a certain framework that I would like to see, it doesn't matter how good your message is, it won't get across. So the experience has been humbling, but I realized that whenever I travel to Indonesia for business trips, for example, people would notice and they say, "You're quieter." And in this discussion, you're usually very open with things that you want to say. You pull yourself back and say, "Oh yeah, this is the Korean version that you see." And it's necessary. It's a survival skill around here to know your place, that's one. To know what to say, to who you say it. And even before you start speaking, you already imagine a few things or where things is going to be.